Bring home the beef this October at the new Lloydminster Nissan. Finance any new vehicle with the new Lloydminster Nissan, and you'll get a quarter of beef at Diamond 7 Meats for free. Selection is at its best at the new Lloydminster Nissan with an amazing lineup of cars, trucks, and SUVs, like the incredible Nissan Pathfinder and very popular Nissan Rogue. Finance a new Nissan Frontier and fill your freezer this winter. Bring home a new Nissan and bring home the beef only at the new Lloydminster Nissan, now on Highway 17 South. The new Lloydminster Nissan. We won't sell you a car, we'll help you buy one.
Local people. Local news and events. Local sports. Local matters. For all things Lloydminster area, this is Live with Kurt Price.
Welcome into the new Lloydminster Nissan, now located on Highway 17 South. And there's only a couple of days left to take advantage of the Diamond 7 Meats deal. When you finance a new vehicle with the new Lloydminster Nissan, you get a free quarter of beef from Diamond 7 Meats. And lots of frost on the vehicle this morning, the most I have seen yet. Well, if you want to get your vehicle winter ready, stop and see our service department. Get 25% off wheel alignments, 15% off battery maintainers and in-cabin heaters. And we'll give you a winter inspection, block heater, and coolant test for just $19.99 here. And of course, winter tires are at cost here at the new Lloydminster Nissan as well. So come see us today. Jim Taylor is here. We're also going to be joined by Justin Vance and Tracy King. They'll also be joining us this morning to talk about their bid to join City Council. Superior Water specializes in nothing but water, and with over 22 years in the business, they're proud and confident that their water and their service is superior. For iron filters, water softeners, reverse osmosis distillers, chlorine removal, and H2S odor removal, give Superior Water a call, 780-875-6636. You can stop in and see them on their 57th Avenue location right beside Sheepskin Loft, and stay hydrated with pure, clean water. I drink Superior Water because I like the taste. I believe it is superior water. Well, today is the final day of the pizza sales to help out the Forges family. Core Dynamics and Spiro's are holding a ready-to-bake pizza fundraiser for the Forges family. Paul Forges was our man behind the camera here for over 4 years on Live with Kurt Price, and he had an awful battle with cancer that took him away from us and took him away from his wife and his 2 daughters. If you'd like to help out the Forges family, all you have to do is go to spiros.ca and order a ready-to-bake pizza. They also have that special secret sauce that you can order, or Greek dressing for your salads, and then pickup will be at Core Dynamics on November 8th between 4:15 and 7 p.m. Well, this is the time of year when we show our appreciation for our Canadian soldiers by wearing a poppy. And if you feel as strongly about our country's sacrifice in World War I and World War II, you may want to join myself and Heather Clagus Price on our trip to Europe this spring. At the end of May and into June, we're going to spend about 2 weeks seeing war memorials, battlefields, museums, and a concentration camp as we work our way through Holland, Brussels, and France. We'll be on Juno Beach on June 6th. We'll be at Normandy, and we'll also see Vimy Ridge, Passchendaele, and a whole lot more. We'll finish our journey together in Paris. Go to lamberttravel.ca today to see the whole trip, and if you have questions, you can track me down at any time on the street, or you can call Lambert Travel at 780-875-4414. Cupcakes for Caregivers is a great way to thank someone in your life who takes care of you or others. That could be a doctor, a nurse, or someone who takes care of a family member, maybe even takes care of you. Well, yesterday we were excited to surprise Miranda Hopko at the Lloydminster Hospital with a dozen customized cupcakes from Sobeys here in Lloydminster. So we say thank you for the great work that she has done with her patients in maternity and in day surgery. And it was her mom who nominated her for the great work at the hospital, of course, but also for taking care of her when she needed it. Cupcakes for Caregivers is proudly brought to you by the Lloydminster and District United Way and Sobeys Lloydminster, as well as Live with Kurt Price. Another Chase the Ace draw at the Lloydminster exhibition tonight, and with Stockade Roundup on, that total is sure to rise. But already it's over $90,000. And it is just $10 to get a ticket. You can improve your odds and purchase more tickets. Go to lloydx.com. And one more note here, we just want to remind you that the Bobcats play Fort McMurray tonight, 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in a special designed jersey from that was helped out by Richardson's Jewelry for a game that will help raise funds for Peyton Walker, a young hockey player with the under-18 PWM Steelers who's battling cancer. You can also bid on one of those jerseys to help out Peyton Walker and her family by going to 32thoughts.com. All the proceeds will go to Peyton. And for minor hockey kids, you wear your team jersey tonight and you'll get in for free. And for the rest of us at the door, $3 from every ticket goes to Peyton and her family as well. That's 7 o'clock tonight. It's a big game for the Bobcats. Big for many reasons. Big because, of course, they want to beat Fort McMurray. They're right there in the standings with Fort McMurray, but also because they want to support Peyton Walker. Well, let's get to it. We have 3 city councilors joining us to date, and Jim Taylor is the first. So, Jim, thanks for being here.
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you very much. Potential
City councilor, that's
yeah.
right. Potential city councilors. So, tell us about yourself and why you decided to get into this crazy game of politics.
Yeah. People do say I'm crazy sometimes for wanting to do it, and especially now being a busy family man, business owner. But a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised in Lloydminster. Did all of my junior school here in Lloyd. Graduated at the LCHS comp in '96. Worked for local businesses then. I got into retail then. Got with some great guys that were downtown Lloydminster at the time. Learned a lot from them. Moved along to school. Lived in a few different cities: Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, Toronto. And then, made our way back to Lloydminster. My girlfriend at the time, wife now, was also graduating college. And when you're having those conversations, she was in Toronto, I think I was in Calgary at the time, and where do we want to go? And, Lloydminster, what a great choice. Our family's here, our friends are here. And at that time, great place to start businesses. I remember then she was, had opportunities all across Canada. But to move back to Lloydminster and be busy the next day, no brainer. Let's go back to Lloyd. Everyone's here. It's a great place to be. So fast forward to what I'm doing now. I own Grinding Gears Bikes and Boards. I have 2 very busy kids, and my wife is also very busy in her practice. Still have a lot of family and friends around town. I volunteer. I've been a coach. I've served on boards with the Lloydminster Youth Council. Then we merged in with the Lloydminster Animal Home, which is now the Spark. That was great, a great time on the board. Again, I always kind of attribute some of the stuff to the people that I learned from, and those boards had so many good people on it. And if you sit and listen, you can learn a lot from them. So we merged in with the Interval Home Board. I chaired that board for a while. So then, as a governance style board, learned a whole pile from that time. Then things got, I switched gears a little bit there, and then opened up Grinding Gears in 2017. That keeps me very busy, but also kind of grassroots busy. I get to see people day to day and deal with them on a daily basis. And so why I'm running for politics or running for city council is those day-to-day conversations, the day-to-day business guy, the concerns I'm seeing as a small business, small family member in Lloydminster, and just trying to take those concerns that I have and take them from behind the counter to in front of the counter, maybe into a position where I can have a say about matters. And it's not just those coffee talk complaints that, we seem to get into quite a bit, here in town. So small town, it's growing, it's great. And that's kind of my story.
So as a business owner, you understand the importance of economic growth.
Yes.
How can council foster economic growth, and where do you see areas of success? What would you do to attract more diverse businesses to our community?
Well, I feel like Lloydminster, we have an amazing amount of industry in Lloydminster. There's still a lot more that I feel could come. We have industrial lots that aren't being used. We're fortunate to have a county on one side and RM on the other that also can attract a lot of business. When I see them attract business, I like the idea that our city can be there to support them, and encourage those families to move here, right? Maybe their business isn't right centered in Lloydminster. We might not get the tax base from that, but to have those families move here and to grow the community and get the tax revenue off the house and the school and those types of things, I think that is key too. So going back to business in Lloydminster, we've got a lot of great businesses. I see them growing all the time, and I don't think a lot of them get enough praise for their own growth. So I see growth within Lloydminster that if you went and saw a lot of the businesses that are here, what can they do to grow? Where can they grow? What can they do? Instead of, trying to shrink or go home or home-based business, that's another one. I've not to switch a whole bunch of topics here, but I've heard that there is a lot more home-based businesses than maybe, retail spots and brick and mortar. So, looking at those and maybe going to see some of those people, why did you move home? Asking those questions. Is it viable for you to move back into a retail setting, maybe downtown, maybe in a Southridge Mall or a place that has some empty spaces? So I think there's potential for growth within our community when you take the time to go find out, maybe why a business closed. Why didn't they renew their business license? Go ask those hard questions from some of those people, and maybe you can encourage them to flourish and grow and work together to get going. As a small business guy, I'm on that track right now where I've got a lease that's coming up in 2 years. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to afford that lease in 2 years, and I've got to figure out, down the road, where am I going to go? Can I continue to grow? Do I have to lay off employees, or can I keep, the amount of people that I have now? Can sales increase? And those questions, I think, from a small business standpoint, can be brought out to a bigger standpoint when you're looking at large industries. How can you keep growing? What else can we do to keep fostering and grow business within Lloydminster? Not necessarily, bring in more restaurants or bring in more stores. That does show growth, So again, not to go back 20 years, but when Walmart first moved to Lloyd, I saw a huge increase from out of town customers coming into Lloydminster, and our shadow population grew and grew and grew. We used to track that with one of the stores that I worked with, and it was really incredible to see how many people were coming back to Lloyd or coming to Lloyd for their groceries, their dentist, their doctor, and then stopping at the small retail shops and the mom and pop shops, and then going home. So looking back and then bringing some of those ideas forward, I think, you can grow within and keep it going.
Do you think things have changed a lot, like since you opened up, to make it tougher for businesses to open up in Lloydminster?
Yeah.
Is it harder to open up? And is it just because of a cost of living?
Cost of living is huge, right? I think everybody saw a massive increase in their properties, and a lot of my friends, a lot of my family, a lot of people that come into the store, they tried to appeal, even their home assessments, just trying to get it down. Whether it was $100 or $200 difference, I think that made a big difference. On the industrial side, I am a liaison for the mall that I work in, so I'm privy to see some of those increases come through. And I had to question my own landlords on why I had to reconcile, at the end of a year in a slow season, at the end of my, busy winter season, going back into a slow bike season, I had to reconcile, I think it was $1,500. And that's a tough pill to swallow and a tough check to write when it's a slow season. So when I questioned them, didn't we see this coming? You budgeted, where'd it come from? And the answer I got back was the increase in the assessments on the industrial lot. So then that goes back to the small business owner. So I understand that taxes need to increase and building assessments need to go up. But I think, over time, maybe that can be, little bits at a time, not the massive jump that we saw in 2023 for the industry. Because again, it all flows down onto the small business, so.
Homelessness is listed as one of our biggest concerns. Colleen Young, just elected, we had her on the show. She said this is the thing that people in Lloydminster are talking about. They're talking about homelessness. What recommendations would you make to help solve this homelessness crisis that we seem to be in? Yeah,
we're not the only ones. We're seeing it across Alberta, across Canada, around the world where homelessness is increasing. I'm interested to see some of these stories, in some of the southern parts of Alberta. I've heard of mini homes and some of these creative ideas where, you're trying to get a group of investors together to build some smaller, more affordable homes. I really like what happened with the city last year and at the Olive Tree, and I can't remember the name of the home base program. That's a success. I think as a community, as a city, you need to be there to support. And again, it's not always easy conversations, right? Going in and having regular conversations with some of the unhoused people that are there and finding out. And then when you do find a success story, get behind it. I had a gentleman in store just a few weeks ago, and he was a resident at the Menschelt for 2 or 3 years. He found a business that wanted to take him on. He is now working full time. He has an apartment. He's got very little in his apartment, but that's a success story that you don't normally get to hear. So the homelessness, I think, is a broad range from the affected and the people that are in it, whether it's substance abuse or mental issues or just downright, out of luck that put you in that position. I think every story needs to be told, needs to be listened, and find out, what can we do and what can a city do? You know, do you have to get creative? Do you have to go find some investors that are willing to build some smaller homes? Or maybe you take a larger home or an area and chop it up and you put people into the kind of starter style, areas to see if they can make a go of it. But it's not an easy topic. It's a tough topic that we're faced with every day. But it's a conversation that people need to start having seriously, and what are we going to do with it as a city and a province and a country? How are we going to get through this, and how are we going to help more people? So it's not an easy. I don't have an answer for it today. I don't think I'll have an answer for it in a year. But I tell you, when people ask if they need help, our community can get behind those things and help out and find different ways to generally help people. I think bottom line, people want to help people. So let's find a way to do it together. But yeah.
Along with homelessness, crime is a huge concern for all residents right across both provinces.
Yeah.
How do you think council can develop and maintain a safe and viable community for everyone?
Well, we need to support the RCMP. We need to support the RCMP, definitely our bylaw. I've heard that there is potential room in the budget to maybe add some more bylaw officers or maybe some more police, boots on the ground, those types of things. But again, I think crime and community kind of go hand in hand, right? So I'm a small business owner. I'm going to take a lot of stuff to my daily basis. I have crime in my own business. People try to break into my store. It's silly as it sounds. I put up a nice little note on my back door that says, please don't break in, right? It's so silly.
Did you really?
I did, because I saw it on my cameras. I had a broken door. $300 later, I had to repair a door. So yeah, I'm out around my business every day, walking around, saying hi to people, looking at things, looking at the garbage, cleaning up the brush, talking to people, treating people with respect when they do come around. But crime is, and petty crime and random acts of violence, you can't predict them. And so when that comes and those things happen, you have to rely on your RCMP to be there for you and have those conversations open and those types of things. But a lot of our crime, I think, is centered around, not just around downtown, but that's part of the main conversation. And I would really like to see and even like the downtown committee's doing more events, more people, more walking, more coffee nights, get the community together to, and I want to say this in a positive way, take back the town, take back your streets, right? Just come out from behind your business and your house and go outside, say hi, turn the lights on, go out and do those types of things and just get out and see. Look out for each other, right? Look out for other's houses and businesses. And I think you can start to deter some of that crime with more activity. People don't like it, or criminals don't like it when the lights are on and they're going to be seen. So I think you have to get, some courage and some creativity and get out with your community and go out and see what's going on. It's citizens on patrol, right? They're out there. My parents now are involved with it and they're driving around. I've had friends that are driving around even before they joined with Citizens on Patrol, and they're watching the industrial parks. So more activity, right? We can't sit at home and go, crime's up. Get outside and go and see what else maybe you can do to get involved, right? Might help out, right? So.
Well, healthcare is a provincial responsibility. What role do you see council playing in order to ensure residents are getting the best care possible and it's as close to home as possible?
Huge supporters. I think the community or the city in this case has to be a support. Has to, when that comes from the provincial government, that we might get a new hospital or might be some new healthcare, the advocacy that our mayor does and our current council does is great. They're always in the ear of the provincial government when they get that chance. That still has to happen. I think you have to be prepared when given the opportunity, and if given the opportunity to be on council, if I ever get in front of a minister, I want to have that piece of paper in front of me with the taglines on what I have to say to that person so they know what, I'm being effective at the time that I'm given when I have those opportunities. And I think you need to be prepared and you need to support and be ready for those types of events when they come up, whether it's finding the land, finding which province maybe the new hospital needs to go in, but more information to the people that are in those areas so they can be ready to attack and go when it's ready.
You think new hospital is the way to go instead of renovating this one?
Well, unfortunately, we're going to be landlocked with that hospital, right where we're at. The helicopter pad across the street. We have a very fortunate neighbor across the street that owns all that land. Maybe they would be a great partner for an expansion. You have baseball diamonds on the other side, which I don't necessarily agree that was maybe the best place for a couple baseball diamonds, because that maybe could have been a hospital expansion. So a hospital expansion, if it warrants and it works, great. But if it's a brand new hospital, we got to find the right spot for it that's going to work, and which province is going to help us out the most in that scenario. But if we have to renovate, let's renovate. If we can renovate, let's do it, because we all hear the stories, and you know, we all want better health care.
Many user groups of the BioClean Aquatic Center wish they had more accessibility to pool time and increased lanes, and length has become an issue too. We're using a temporary space for our museum. We've moved the library to the Lloyd Mall, and a new event center is set to open in 2025. What do you see as the next major recreational facility needed in our community, and can we pay for this without increasing our taxes?
The short answer is no. You have to increase taxes to build another capital major project facility. Do I agree with that? No. Bottom line is, we have a museum that got moved that we're now absorbing a lease on. We have a library that moved that we're now absorbing a lease on. We have outlying buildings that are arm's length from the city. There's a number of them that are closely related to the city that I think could be all in one building, right? Going back to small business, I don't have a second location. I can't have a second location. It's internet, it's power, it's insurance, it's staff, it's every one of those things adds up. And when you build a new building, it's more staff, it's more internet, more cost, and those things are increasing around us tremendously every time we want to build a new facility. I love new facilities, they look great, but then we got to pay for them, and that's the bottom line. Being from here and seeing what's happening in Lloydminster and maybe forgotten about is we have a lot of great buildings that have been torn down, right? Unfortunately, maybe the recommendation from that was given to us 20-some years ago got shelved and we forgot to look at it, but let's learn from that. We now have to try to replace that building. We've got a service sports center that is now nearing 20 years old. What do you do with that place when it starts to leak and it has been upgraded and you need to add some more accessible locker rooms or boards or whatever the case may be? We've got aging buildings all around us that we seriously need to look at and put a long-term plan in, instead of just tearing them down and building something shiny and new. The concerns I'm hearing in the community is, yes, we have a new event center open. I haven't heard of an opening act. I haven't heard of any events for it yet. When you book concerts 2 years out and you've got a major undertaking like this, is what are we doing to pay for it? Where's the revenue stream going to come for that? How are we even thinking about it? And you know what? I'm not just, attacking. These are just ideas that I hear. So if this is being worked on in City Hall and with administration right now, let's talk about it. Let's get hyped up for it. Let's find a way to champion behind this new event center that we have to learn to pay for and figure it out. A pool would be great. How do you pay for it? I think in these scenarios, you need to get really creative. You need to sit down with maybe Lakeline College, maybe a high school, maybe you start looking at them. There's other communities that share those facilities, that share recreation facilities, Catholic schools and a public school together that share those types of things. And I think you maybe need to go to them and say, how's your athletic program doing? Can you see a pool bringing more people to Lakeline College? Is it worth it? Just like the Lakeline College Rustler girls, right? They're using a community rink to play. Could adding a rink onto Lakeline College or working with them somehow so you could add a rink out into that Bud Miller Lakeline College area, does that increase your hockey? Do you now get a college team, right? So I think when we're talking about these things, we have to think where we are going down the road with it, and how do you keep in mind the buildings that need us, and then how do you pay for the ones in the future? But the creativity, you got to start looking out who else is going to pay for it besides just taxpayers? Because I can't pay for it.
So no new buildings anytime soon?
I think we got to fix the ones we have, right? There's a lot of buildings. Unfortunately, the Civic Center was too expensive to fix. But we've got the Archie Miller we got to look at. We've got Russ Robertson that we got to look at. There's other rinks and other facilities. And then, one thing I didn't touch on there was user groups. I'm watching the Service Sports Center. It gets used all the time. The Lloydminster minor basketball, Filipino basketball community is using that all the time. They're playing on a rubberized floor with really under adequate baskets, and they're filling that place. So if you can go talk to these user groups, find out what they need, maybe we can start filling these facilities even a little bit more and trying to find that revenue stream to, make more money to help pay for these buildings.
Do you believe that the city of Lloydminster, mayor and council, is transparent? And what would you do to make it more transparent?
I feel like they've been working hard to be more transparent, to get more information out to the people. Now, that being said, I do think that as citizens, community members, we have to take some onus on how to find that information. I've sold advertising in Lloydminster. You have for years. There's not one stream of advertising that works 100% all the time. So the city can't afford to advertise in absolutely every avenue that we have available to us. But you also have to take some time as a community member and go find those avenues and get into it and go look. If you want to learn more, the information's out there, right? The city does post all of the packages early. If you want to attend a council meeting, they're online, which unfortunately I don't get to go to a lot of them. I have to turn them on in the store. I play them in the background. I listen, right? They happen at times where a lot of business people maybe can't get down to a meeting. But yeah, I feel like they're trying to be more transparent. But that being said, I would really like to see Lloydminster learn to tell its story a little bit better. We have a communication department that's very busy, but I think when you come out again from your office, you go look to see what's going around in Lloyd. And I've said this for years, if you don't tell the story, somebody else is going to tell it for you. And that becomes the local coffee shop talk with maybe not all the right information. And if I'm not willing to tell my story first, people are going to assume. And when you assume, it's maybe not always correct. And that's where, to be more transparent, the more stories you tell, the more information you get out there, positive or negative. If a street's closing, get out there and let people know. It shouldn't show up on an independent Facebook page before the city posts it themselves. So I think that's one of the complaints that we hear, is that transparency isn't maybe always about the numbers behind the scenes. It's about that story to get it out there to the people before they have to go start digging. So yeah, transparency, it's getting better. They're working on it, but we also have to take some of the pressure off them and go find it ourselves.
Do you believe that the decisions are made at City Hall based on information and recommendations provided by city administration, or do you believe influence from outside parties influence decision-making?
Well, that's kind of I would say a lot of the information that comes into council is obviously presented by administration, but that's kind of a two-sided, not really a two-sided question. It could have some meanings to it that might not look great when you have invested business interests that are also trying to grow Lloydminster and trying to bring industry to Lloydminster. So do we have outside influence that maybe pass information to city council? Yes, but they should, right? Like, administration isn't going to know everything, and you need to go find some of those experts and some of those people that are heavily invested in the growth of our city to maybe help foster those ideas and get that information out. So it shouldn't be always construed as being negative. Getting outside information, talking to people, or seeing where Lloydminster could grow. I don't know where Lloydminster is going to grow. Is it going to be south? Is it going to be west? Is it going to be east? We are kind of landlocked that way, but I think the city can be a partner with those outside influences and guide them, right? If you have an outside influence that wants to be a developer or wants to grow an industrial area or wants to bring somebody in, if you have the overlying story on which you want them to tell and you make them stick to that, then it's not a bad thing. But if they come in with their story and they want to grow it their way, then that can be a negative, interference in with the way the city grows. So the land use bylaw has been a big one, and I think the land use bylaw can be our guiding factor on where we want Lloydminster to grow. And when we have outside influence come in, they can follow that and they can see what we want to put forward as a city and the growth. And so outside influence isn't always a bad thing if you are ready to drive the bus the right way.
Speaking of buses,
Yeah.
do you believe
Yeah.
do you believe this city should invest in public transportation? Why or why not? And
Yeah.
this has been a question I know you've heard over
Many
and over
years,
and over again.
many years over the years. Public transit to me means more than just buses on the roads or taxis or transit vehicle wise. Public transit to me is moving people around the city. We have people moving here from all over the world, and they come from places that are bicycle, footpath, walking path, and now we have alternative scooters, bikes, and those types of things that are happening. So public transit to me isn't just about having a bus that goes up and down 16 and 17 and getting somebody to a doctor's appointment. I get a unique opportunity at my store where people come in, they're new to the city, and they come in, they go, "You're the bike shop owner. How do I ride to school? How do I ride to work?" And I said, "I don't know. I break 10 out of 11 laws riding from my home to work." I try not to always go back in the past, but you have to. I was around when the first real bike paths were built, going from Winston Churchill up over to Bishop Lloyd and down to the mall. Those haven't been added on, right? Yes, we added the 36th Street up and 36th Street bike paths up and down. But I also sat in on a survey and a study that was done, I think in 2018 with the city, and they identified over 400 and some issues where people were walking through ditches and walking across and running across the highway and running across to get to those areas. And those aren't just all people that have been in Lloydminster. Those are people that are here trying to get to work and trying to get to school and trying to get to appointments. And those issues, I don't know if they've all been addressed. I've asked it a few times at a couple of the open houses. I haven't got a solid number of how many of those have been addressed yet. So people moving to me as public transit, as far as talking about just strictly buses and those types of things, we don't have the infrastructure on the roadways yet ready for it. And we need to plan for it. Lloydminster, I think, when people get behind it and buy into public transit, will use it. But we don't have a lot of roads that are connected. We have Highway 17 that goes north-south. We have a ring road that ends over at 25th Street. 47th Ave goes north-south, but we really don't have a lot that goes east-west. So we're looking at some of the routes that were projected. I'm thinking, even if you got on public transit, you're still going to be far away from some of these areas we need to get on and off. But a rideshare program could be a way to do it. Maybe we need to introduce that to see how much it's going to be used. The Border City Connects do a fantastic job trying to get people around town. So, partnering with them and seeing what maybe their vehicles aren't being used all the time. Maybe that could go in and around. So, yeah, public transit is needed. I don't know if we're ready infrastructure-wise. And I would like to see some of those other things addressed first before maybe we go and put a lot of money into public transit.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a break and we'll come back here at the new Lloydminster Nissan with Justin Vance.
At Lloydminster and District Co-op, membership matters more. Because being part of a co-op means you're connected to something bigger than yourself. From long-held legacy by those who built our communities to people you call family, friends, and neighbors. When you're a Lloyd Co-op member, you're an owner in a local business that prides itself on purpose alongside profit. You earn cash back, you help support causes that matter most, and you're building a better way of life for the next generation. Membership matters more.
How can you help support the oil and gas industry and jobs in Western Canada? The answer is closer than you think. Sell your scrap metals to PWM Steel. PWM sells scrap iron to Evraz, located in Regina. Evraz's #1 customer is the energy sector, building pipes and plates for the oil and gas industry. PWM Steel is your locally owned metal recycler and steel service center in the area. Plus, they're a strong supporter of the community. PWM Steel, your top steel supplier for Alberta and Saskatchewan for 40 years.
At Jason Arden Associates Cooperators, we're proud to be a top-rated local insurance company that offers flexible solutions and expert advice for all your insurance and investment needs. We'll work with you to tailor your insurance specific to your needs, and we offer investment advice that always puts you first. At Cooperators, one of our core values is to give back to the communities that we live in. Thanks to the support of our clients in Lloydminster and area, in 2023, Jason Arden Associates has donated $40,000 to local nonprofits, charities, students, athletes, and other special events. How does your insurance company support our community?
It's more than just taxes at L&A CPA. Assurance, accounting, retirement planning, estate planning, business consulting, financial consulting, farm program support, and bookkeeping. But yes, there is always taxes. The team at L&A CPA is committed to helping you achieve your best results and will be there to assist you every step of the way. L&A CPA, with offices in Provost, Vermilion, and Lloydminster.
BioClean Disaster Services is Lloydminster's local restoration company. They're also Lloydminster's largest restoration company, and they're committed to taking care of you and your family. They'll help you get your life back. For fire, flood, any kind of disaster, when it hits your home, it disrupts absolutely everything. And BioClean Disaster Services will help you take care of your property and your belongings, but more than that, they'll take care of your family. BioClean Disaster Services at 1-833-246-8326. Well, we're back here at the new Lloydminster Nissan, and we have another potential new city councillor to talk to, and that is Justin Vance. Justin, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Kurt, for having me. You bet.
Well, let's start off by getting to know you a little bit. Justin,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to put your name forward for city council.
Sure. So politics was always kind of on my mind with through life as a young guy. Through middle school, I was on the middle school council. I would do like initiatives like a meal deal, for the students, right? Like a pizza pop and a chocolate bar for $5, and just things like that to make students' lives better. And then that went on to the youth council. So it was kind of more of an official role. I got elected, I guess, for the inaugural year of the youth council. And we would see youth issues and present it to city council. So I would go sit in on council meetings and see how things work. And I was able to present council with the youth voice, which is very important considering youth aren't able to vote, right, prior to 18 years old. So it gave a voice to those kind of people that aren't able to vote in councillors. So that, got the ball moving, right, for this attraction to politics. And so this summer I got to travel to Moose Jaw for the first time. And never been to Moose Jaw. I couldn't believe it. They're beautiful downtown, rail overpasses. They have a brand new beautiful hospital. And I look at the population, and it's the same as Lloyd, 33,000 people, just about. We're about 31, 32. So we're right in there as a comparable to Moose Jaw. And I'm looking, so how can we make our city better? How can we improve it to look like cities like Moose Jaw, like comparable cities with comparable populations? And that the whole Moose Jaw trip really set the ball rolling on what I want to do for the city and things I see issues in our city and how can I bring that to the table on council. So.
Part of that starts with economic development, I suppose. So
Right.
How can council foster economic growth? Where do you see areas of success? And what would you do to attract more diverse businesses to our community?
Yeah, so I think cutting as much red tape as we can to open new businesses and support local businesses wherever we can. I want to make it easier to get a business license and more affordable to get a business license. I want to attract all types a variety of new businesses. And, when the oil crash comes, it's going to hit hard again. And then we're going to be running around wondering what we're going to do to support our economy. So if we can diversify now when times are good, that's I think the best thing we can do. But yeah, as far as business opportunities, I think we need to look at selling our existing lots. So for instance, on our north end of town there, the city developed industrial lots. And I think we need to get those moving. I think we need to get them sold. And if we need to advertise them a little bit more, maybe we need to adjust the price. There's a lot of land out there, and I'd like to see it get sold and see it get moving. We paid for all the infrastructure to go in up there. There's, the road, street lamps, water, power. So it'd be nice to start collecting tax dollars on properties out there. So. Yeah, I think we need to start looking at our existing lots and get them sold.
Homelessness is listed as one of our biggest concerns. Colleen Young, when she was here, said this is the thing she's hearing at doorsteps the most, is the concern about homelessness in our community. So as we head out of a provincial election, what recommendations would you make to help solve the issue?
Yeah, I think the city needs to look at it at face value and say there is an issue here. We need to help the men's shelter. We need to help the Olive Tree. And we need to really address this issue. Whatever happens within our city limits, I think our city council should be accountable for it. And this is clearly an issue. It hits home with a lot of folks. The saddest thing I found is I was campaigning on the north end of Lloyd there. Went to a particular business, and he gives me this card. He says, if you can do better than this card, I'll vote for you. And I look at this card, and it was released from the city of Lloyd, and it said how to deal with the drugs and how to deal with homeless people. And it was kind of sad for me, because if that's the case and that's what we're up against, that we're handing out cards how to properly dispose of needles and how to approach people and, you know, what number to call, I think that clearly says that we have an issue here, and we need to actually address this issue. But as far as the location of the men's shelter, as far as we can do as a city council, we can advise and push to get it out of a residential area. That's the biggest thing I've heard from those residents in there, is they're tired and fed up with it being in their back door. And we need to basically sit down with residents, with business leaders, and everyone in the community and say, okay, where is a good location? Where should we direct this shelter? Because right now, that population isn't happy right now, and we want to make sure that everyone has a voice and everyone's happy. So,
Along with homelessness, crime is a huge concern for all residents right across both provinces. How do you think council can develop and maintain a safe and viable community for all?
yeah, so I think just supporting our RCMP wherever we can, and I think just more boots on the ground, more personnel, and just getting police force out there, I think is a huge step. You know, even I was looking into like a 24-hour bylaw officer, you know, hired by the city, and just someone to just patrol the streets at night. Hey, what's this guy doing here? You know, just get people moving again, and not letting these camps get set up and get things rolling. And yeah, I think just by supporting the RCMP and yeah, I think we just need to really push to get drugs off the streets and all illegal activity off our streets as much as we can. So,
While healthcare is a provincial responsibility, what role do you see council playing in order to ensure residents are getting the best care possible, as close to home as possible?
yeah, so like I said about the Moose Jaw story, the hospital was one of the main reasons why I ran. And I always hear, oh, it's a provincial issue. It's a provincial issue.
It is a provincial issue.
It is.
Yeah.
And I look at it, okay, it's in our city, and we need to do everything we can to push our MLAs on both sides to give us this care that we need. I feel like being on the border, Lloydminster's a forgotten zone. You know, Vermilion, I feel like gets better care than Lloyd. I feel like Maidstone gets better care than Lloyd. Because basically the way I look at it is both provinces look at us and point the finger at each other and say, well, you guys got Lloyd. You know what I mean? And I think we need to push provinces to show them that we're one city. We're not Lloyd, Alberta. We're not Lloyd, Saskatchewan. And we have 32,000 people here. And why it's gotten to this point has saddened me. Seeing 6-hour wait times in a hospital this size is just, I think, ridiculous. And I think we need to push both provinces to get provincial funding. That's as much as we can do as council, and gain a good relationship. And you know, it's nice that Colleen Young got reelected, because we've been building a good relationship with her, and as well as on the Alberta side. So if we can keep those governments in and gain a relationship with them, and you know, hopefully they can understand our struggles here. But yeah, just being a voice for this hospital, I think, is all we can do, and I think it's something we should do.
Let me push you a little bit on that, because
Yeah.
it's wait times that are right across the country.
Right, it's an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, what makes us different, Justin? Like, do you think they're longer here than they are in other places?
Well, I know if I had a broken arm, for example, I'd go to Vermilion. You know what I mean? And it is a smaller town. But yeah, like I feel like Edmonton does a good job in their emergency services. I don't think that they have 6-hour wait times, from what I've heard, than in Edmonton than what we have here, just for an example. But yeah, I know it's an issue. It was a provincial issue in the last election. Is just Sask nurses in general are upset. Alberta nurses and doctors in general are upset. So it goes beyond our little city here. But I think if we're just on the front lines and pushing for it and making our voice heard, I think that's what we can do, and I'd like to be a voice for that.
So many user groups of the BioClean Aquatic Center wish they had more accessibility to pool time and increased lanes and length. We're using a temporary space right now for the museum, and we've moved the library into the Lloyd Mall, and a new event center is set to open here in 2025. What do you see as the next major recreational facility needed for our community, and can we pay for this without increasing taxes?
Yeah, so kind of touching on the event center and the aquatic center, I really wish we would have took kind of a harder look at the facility we were getting. So you look at what Prince Albert is currently building right now for the same price, and they also have an aquatic center in their new sportsplex. So I think going forward, we need to be a little wiser in what we're building for that large amount of money, because that could have solved our aquatic center issue right there with including it in a multi-million-dollar sportsplex like Prince Albert, if you're probably aware of the Prince Albert arena. But yeah, as far as facilities, I think we really need to look at maintaining our current facilities. There's talks of the Archie Miller, if we don't do anything to it right now, it's going to be condemned within 5 years, and it's going to have to be bulldozed. And I think if we preserve the Archie and keep that facility there, and if it costs $2-3 million to fix the roof or whatever issues that they're having there, I think that's well worth it than to tear it down in 5 years and have to build a $30 million arena to replace the Archie. So we need to really look at just proper maintenance of our current facilities and making sure that they have the longest life possible. Like for instance, the museum, that was only a 25-year-old building, and we had to tear it down because of maintenance issues. And the roof, I think, was condemned or whatever they said with it. But yeah, I think proper maintenance goes a long way with lots of facilities. So
it's been a while since I looked at the Prince Albert model, but wasn't the mayor there in some trouble because it was costing a lot of
taxpayer dollars?
Yeah, than originally planned to add the aquatic center.
Oh yeah. But it's still a 4,500 seat arena, like exact same as what ours is going to be, and it's going to be right around the same price. And projects do always go over budget. There's always hiccups and things along the road, and inflation has been a big part of that. You look at downtown, for instance. They only adjusted to do about 15 water lines. Well, that's the oldest intersection in Lloydminster. Once you start digging up, plans only go back so far. So all of a sudden, there's 50 water lines to replace. Okay, well now we're going to have to readjust our budget. So yeah, obviously, budgets will have to increase, expense will have to increase, and that's just, the cost of doing business. But if we can get as close to that number as we can, I think we did a good job at the end of the day.
Status quo then?
Yeah.
On our buildings?
Yeah.
For the most part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the City of Lloydminster Mayor and Council is transparent? What would you do to make them more transparent?
Yeah, so do I believe council and mayor are hiding anything? No, I think, they're as transparent as they can be. Can they be better? Sure, everyone can be better. There's no limit of how transparent you can be. You can't have a government that says, yep, there we are, we're as transparent as possible. No, there's always that one step to go further. The issue I see, Kurt, is people are upset after a decision's made. So after it's all signed and done, for instance, the Synovus hub, then everyone's upset, right? Oh, well, the Synovus hub, I'm upset about it. But if we do more pushing for these big multi-million-dollar projects and just inform the public as much as we can before the bills are signed and it's done, I think at the end of the day, that's going to be the best thing we can do is say, hey, and I know they did do a lot of advertisement before, but I think we need to engage more with the public and say, hey, this is going to be a $110 million arena. Are we ready for this? And do a lot of surveys and, engage the public with it. But I think going forward, like you said, how to be more transparent, I think your show here is a great way to do it. There's podcasts in town that, if it takes just one city councillor to sit in with you once a week or whatever it takes to just say, hey, this is what we're planning on, this is what we're going to do. Just to inform the city on all fronts, because social media has been becoming quite a growing thing. The paper has seen a decrease in readers. So we need to, see the new side of things and push the new generation on social media.
Is that something that you would it would have come out while you were at city council? Like, did you guys talk a lot? Youth council, sorry. But when you're at youth council, does transparency get mentioned in that a lot?
Well, like youth council's on another side of it because, you know, we really didn't, like there was probably a lot of adults at the time that didn't even know we existed, right? So, you know, we tried our hardest to make ourselves known and show everyone what we're about. And we did get a lot of youth engagement. Like we did like a talent show at Bud Miller, for instance, and quite a few people showed up. But yeah, I think just on all fronts, whatever government it is, transparency is a massive key in success.
Do you believe that decisions are made based on the information and recommendations provided by city administration to city council, or do you believe influence from outside parties influence decision making?
Well, like I don't know exactly how each councillor and how the mayor each gets their perspective on different things, like whether or not it is on the inside or one of their close friends or whoever it is. But I'd like to think that whoever it is the best knowledgeable on that topic. So if we're talking about road repair, I hope we're getting information from an engineer on road repair, for example. So yeah, I just like to think that we hear the top voices on any subject, and that's what I know I would do. So.
And do you believe this city should invest in public transportation? Why or why not?
Well, this one's a tough one. It's been talked about for years. What we got to look at is, like right now, Lloydminster doesn't have a core business area. You know, we have an accounting firm on the east end of town. We have a dental office on the west end of town. You know, we don't have like a downtown Edmonton where majority of our population goes to work every day. So that's one of the struggles I see. And the other struggle I see is trying to convince taxpayers that your taxes are going to go up to pay for this service, because no public transportation has ever made money. Like they're a cost to the city, they're a cost to taxpayers. So we got to prepare everyone to know, like, this is what's going to happen. You got to pay for this service. And yeah, at the end of the day, I would want public transportation, just like I want a beautiful arena and I want a beautiful downtown. But I feel like the needs that we need in the city is we need to push for a proper hospital. We need to push for an overpass on our rail line. We need to push for just proper smooth flow of traffic in the city. And those are, I think, more needs versus wants. And once we get all of our needs covered, all of our bases covered, and we can say at the end of the day, we did a good job here and our city is covered, then we can, I feel like, look at these wants and continue to grow the city. So yeah, I think it's a good idea, but it needs to be talked to about at the expense of the taxpayer. And I think right now it's a want. So
you mentioned the overpass. That's a big undertaking, Justin. Yeah. That's a big one to take on.
Yeah. It's funny. I talked to Richard Starkey. You probably met Richard Starkey, and he asked me what I was all about, and I say homeless hospital and overpass, my little motto there, and accountable spending. And he says overpass. That's funny you say that. I ran in 1988. Don't quote me on that. I think it was 1988. As a city councillor. So he was the youngest city councillor elected. 25 years old, Richard Starkey was in the city. He ran on an overpass in 88. And he's like, you know, good for you for keeping that dream alive. But, you know, he told me about the struggles on it and things like that. And obviously there is an expense to it. And, you know, obviously we're not going to pay out of the city $130 million to build one. I think Edmonton just built a similar one and it came in at $120 million. But I think it was about $100 million of that was CN or CP. It was a CP rail line. So CP, the federal government, and the Alberta government pitched in quite a bit of money for the Edmonton overpass, and it just got finished this year on, I think it was 50th Street in Edmonton. So yeah, it's a very similar overpass to what we need, but I feel like it's about time. And if we want to continue to grow this city, we can't have a train disrupt half of our city at, you know, it seems like it's lunch, 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock every day. So we need to start looking into it again. And just from the standpoint of even emergency services, like we can't have ambulances, fire trucks, police waiting at a train. We need to have at least one overpass to connect half of our city. And yeah, I think it's about time, Kurt, that we look into it again and try and get secure funding for it. So
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Kurt. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, Tracy King will join us.
At Diamond 7 Meats, we work with local farm families to provide a high-quality product and a great selection for you. Try our mouth-watering smokies, pulled pork, roast beef, and more, made pure and natural with no additives or fillers. We offer custom processing, and our experienced team works for you to provide a selection of sausage, burgers, and jerkies made to your specifications. Take your grilling to the next level with a Yoder smoker. Complete the grilling experience with a Canadian-made, award-winning line of House of Q barbecue sauces. We're locally owned and operated, and we look forward to seeing you today.
I'm Brian Zinchuk of PipelineOnline.ca. I used to be a pipeliner, and I've spent the last 15 years reporting on energy in Saskatchewan. PipelineOnline.ca provides comprehensive coverage of light oil, heavy oil, lithium, helium, power production including coal, wind, solar, geothermal, natural gas, and nuclear. There's a lot happening in Saskatchewan's energy sector, and Pipeline Online is there for all of it. No one else comes even close.
At CK McKean Roofing, they understand what it took to put that roof over your head for your family. With over 20 years of experience under their belt, they strive to show you that with their workmanship and their integrity. Not all roofing companies are created equal, and that's why CK McKean Roofing encourages you to focus on your most important investments, your home and your family. CK McKean Roofing. Roofers do it on top.
At Synergy Credit Union, we're more than just a financial institution. We're your partners in every step of your journey. From supporting local businesses to enhancing community life, we're committed to making a difference. Join us in shaping a brighter future. Together, we thrive, because this is Synergy.
Wellings of Lloydminster is an active 55 and over community for those with a busy lifestyle or those that want to maybe slow things down a little bit, live maintenance free. Maybe it's because of their health, maybe because they like to travel. But either way, there's 66 units. Each come with a full kitchen, 5 appliances, walk-in showers, and in-suite laundry. And in this busy community, you can get to know your neighbors because they're building a beautiful clubhouse. They're even putting in a pickleball court for residents. Learn more by calling Darlene at Wellings of Lloydminster and ask about their easy leasing. And if you want to have a pet, you can have a pet. And their 2 bedroom suites also come with garages as well. That's Wellings of Lloydminster, Care Freedom Living at 780-872-8537. We welcome you back inside the new Lloydminster Nissan, and our guest is Tracy King. And Tracy is once again another potential city councillor, and it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming in, Tracy.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Can you tell us about yourself? We'd like to get to know you and why you decided to run for city council.
I've lived in Lloydminster for 36 years. With my husband Bart, we've raised 4 children. I like to say I've worn many hats. I'm mom and grandma and wife, banking representative. I've worked in the banking industry for 25 years, small business owner with my husband, and lots of volunteer stuff, mainly with my kids, activities, sports, dance, everything like that. I love Lloydminster. It's been a great place to raise my family. It was a great place to balance work and life compared to where I came from, which is Vancouver. So it's a welcoming, inclusive community. People are very nice, and I just sort of took stock of life and always liked kind of politics and interested and paid attention, and it felt like this was a good time to give back to my community. I think I have lots to offer of experience and a little bit of everything, and excited to sort of throw my hat, I guess, in the ring and go on this journey.
Still a business owner?
It's sort of not like it used to be, a little bit, but not to the scale that it was before. And even that, we were in the oil business, and we certainly experienced successes and prosperity and lots of challenges, and much like Lloydminster. And I think that's taught me resiliency and ability to sort of navigate turbulent waters. What can I do? What do? We reinvent ourselves. What are we going to try now? So, I mean, yeah, that's sort of a business, but not quite to the same extent that it was before. So sort of almost kind of retired, but I like to keep busy and keep my hands in things. And I'm an avid golfer, so I use the multiplex. I like to play pickleball. I think I'm a library member. The Vic Juba, I think we have wonderful amenities in this town. I think we should be proud of that. And I just want to keep things rolling along. I want families to come here. I want our kids or other families to move to Lloydminster. I want to do what I've done, which is raise a family and enjoy.
So how can council foster economic growth? Where do you see areas of success? And what would you do to attract more diverse businesses to the community?
Yeah, I think my impression is the city council certainly is working on that on a regular basis. I mean, growth pays for growth. So all the things that we all talk about kind of wanting in Lloydminster, we have to be able to fund that. And the main driver of funding is, for some of that stuff, is through tax base. So we want medium-sized, large-sized businesses to come Lloydminster. We want a place where we encourage them to come. We have a place that families want to come and live here. We want to foster that as much as we can, and existing small businesses to grow and to get bigger and to be more diverse. So I think we just have to keep putting our name out there, making sure that we sell our community for all the things it is. I call it's like a small town feel with big city amenities. So keep fostering that, keep presenting that, and hopefully they keep coming. I mean, and Lloydminster has grown in my time here. It has grown, and it continues to show growth. So,
being a little bit of the oil field, do you think there's potential there, like in the oil industry, or are things kind of moving towards bigger business?
No, I think that kind of like the oil industry has changed and it's evolving, and what it looked like. My husband's been in the oil industry his whole life, so it certainly has changed and evolved, and there seems to be a little bit more newer ways of doing things in the oil industry. I mean, there's with multi-leg lateral drilling. I'm not saying I'm no
expert either, but I know what you're talking about.
But I mean, I think I know lots of people that have done very well in this community through the oil industry, and I'm sure we lost some businesses, but we've gained some, and some are still plugging along, doing their thing. So you'd never want to write it off. I think it's too important to our community that it's thriving, and it's really beyond our control. But it goes up and down, and So
one of the other things that's important, and Colleen Young, when she was here, she said that door knocking homelessness was the number one issue that she heard from residents in Lloydminster. So what recommendations would you make to help solve this homeless issue that we seem to have?
Well, that's a tough question, because that's all most people are talking about right now. It's on the mind of everybody. I don't really know if I could sit there and say I have a few recommendations. I think it's a very complicated issue. There's a lot of people that need to be at the table. Lobbying our provincial governments, making sure that the funding we get for Lloydminster and the services we have to provide are fair and equitable as what they do in other cities. It's challenging Lloydminster. That's where the border, I think, is challenging. I believe that's being done. There are some great community groups that are showing some positive signs in regards to this. I think we need to talk about those so people know that there is stuff being done. As a community, Lloydminster's always kind of dug down and, done what it takes to, volunteer for the games or do this. I think we are a great community for that, and I just think we just have to keep people at the table talking, look for new ways, copy other successful things that happen in other communities that we can adapt to here. I'd like to say that there was, one or two things, but it feels like there's a lot of things that have to come together, from mental health and addiction, affordable housing, supportive housing, transitional housing, and then there's so many things, and I don't know. I'm willing to learn, and I'm a hardworking person, and I care, So I want to come up with solutions that, meet the needs. But here, like, there's concerns, and those are real concerns. Those people that live down in that area, you feel for them. I mean, it's a tough situation.
Along with homelessness, crime is a huge concern for all residents right across both provinces. How do you think council can develop and maintain a safe and viable community for all?
Yeah, another tough issue. And I mean, we fund the RCMP, and I mean, I guess all council can do is deal with staffing issues and how many are we paying for. My understanding it's expensive. I mean, every time you add a new member, and I mean, that comes at a cost to taxpayers. So of course, balancing those things, and I mean, I've listened to Staff Sergeant Jerry Nutbrown give a presentation. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago, and I watched it on the video through the city website. And he talked about some of the strategies that they're trying to do to help alleviate some of this. And so it feels like people care, and people are getting engaged and trying. Community watch or know your neighbor. Make sure that we kind of look out for each other and work together. Really, I guess that's all I would keep trying to foster, is those conversations. And the same thing is kind of along the homeless. They're kind of intertwined a little bit, but not all homeless people are committing the crimes. It's probably a very small group that is, and some of our issues are with our federal bail situations, catch and release, and those are bigger issues to deal with too.
Well, healthcare is a provincial responsibility. What role do you see council playing in order to ensure residents are getting the best care possible as close to home as possible?
Yeah, I mean, our hospital certainly hasn't kept pace with the growth of Lloydminster. We are a regional hub, I think, for close to 180,000 people. Maybe they don't all use our hospital, but it hasn't kept pace. I feel for the staff there because I'm sure they hear it, but I mean, the hospital only can do what the hospital can do. So all I think council can do is continue to advocate for those dollars to give us some kind of, new hospital, great. Expand the hospital. I was at a Concerned Citizens of Lloydminster, and they're advocating right now to replace, I believe it's the Jubilee, which is on the Saskatchewan side, and which is needed for our seniors. I mean, I think that they said it was built in 1956, and there's been no new beds added in Saskatchewan since then. So again, we have to just, advocate to do this because we want all that health care available to us. And I just think the existing hospital just can't meet the capacity.
Many user groups of the BioClin Aquatic Center wish they had more accessibility to pool time, and increased lanes and length has become an issue. We're also using a temporary space for our museums, and we have moved the library to the Lloyd Mall. And we've got a new event center that's coming in 2025. What do you see as the next major recreational facility needed for our community, and how can we pay for that without increasing taxes?
Yeah. That's another one. There's a feasibility study that they did on lots of the recreational buildings, and that's one of the reasons that they didn't go ahead with the pool with the event center originally. I think they were going to do them together, but the cost was too much, and they looked at it saying that the civic center is past its life expectancy date, so they went with the rink and then turned it into a bit more, which I think will be great. So what's the next one? I would think the pool is there. I just don't know, my understanding, they're very expensive to build. I mean, they've just sort of retrofitted the existing pool at Bud Miller. It looks great. And I mean, I agree that we probably need a bigger one. It's just a matter of on when does it come? It can't all come at once, because I know I don't want my taxes to go up that much. I do use the pool, maybe not as regularly as other people, but it is working. And I mean, I don't know for sure what the next one will be, but it seems like that's one that was on the table, and then it was removed just because of, I think, cost.
You mentioned you don't want your taxes to go up that much.
Well,
so you're not opposed to a smaller increase.
I mean, it depends what it gets you. And I mean, I guess it's always like you want to weigh those things. Like, what am I getting versus for what I'm paying? And I like to think, like, one of the philosophies that I like to think about when you talk about civic finances is that growth pays for growth, utilities pay for utilities, and taxes pay for administration and services. Sort of to keep in those lanes, meaning we can't be pulling money, from our reserves or anything like that to pay for things that don't sort of fit in the lane. So yeah, I mean, we all know everything's going up. I mean, we all know, go to the grocery store, everything's going up. I don't know what they're going to do with taxes. That's one of the discussions that's happening right now with the proposed budget. I don't know what's going on for sure. They haven't got to that before I came here. What is being proposed doesn't mean it'll happen. So, I mean, yeah, I think we can't all expect more services or more better, newer amenities without it coming at a cost to us.
Do you believe the City of Lloydminster Mayor and Council is transparent, and what would you do to make them more transparent?
As I started this journey, and I've sat through 3 council meetings, I've read a lot of the feasibility studies or strategic plans that the city has commissioned and posted, and they do a lot of that. I was amazed at how much information there is, and that there's an overall plan, and there's all these other feasibility studies to help support them making decisions going into the future. So it's there. The website is a little clunky to navigate through, but it's there. There's a lot of information. So I believe the city tries to be very transparent. I mean, there's always a survey, or they're trying to do open houses or public forums. I mean, for me, the land use bylaw that was sort of before council a couple weeks ago, and I did some reading on that, and there was a lot of concerns around that proposed bylaw, and they made amendments to that bylaw, which I look at, that's great. The community engaged, they voiced their concerns, and the council listened. It is going to go to the new council, and I still think there might be a few revisions in there that should happen. So I think it's, people get involved when it's a big issue and it's important, or they're upset, or they're not happy, and that's when they should tap us on the shoulder, talk to your councillors. I want to have an open sort of feel that people can come and say, yeah, communicate. So I think they're pretty good at being transparent. I don't feel there's a hidden agenda.
Do you believe that decisions are made at City Hall based on the information and recommendations provided by city administration, or do you believe influence from outside parties influence decision making?
Yeah, I don't believe that. I believe they listen to their administration. My experience so far, sitting through some council meetings and some big ones where administration is presenting ideas and they ask questions. I don't get a feel for that, but I'm not sure what people would think that would mean. I mean, I don't know if they mean land developers. I don't know what that outside influence is. Do people have a voice at the table that they have an agenda that they're trying to, yeah, I'm sure there's people that do, but I think the city tries to do a good job of making sound decisions.
Do you believe the city should invest in public transportation? Why or why not?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if we had something. I mean, from seniors to students, but again, it's the cost. And how much is it going to be used? Is there some kind of plan that you could, maybe it's morphed, or maybe it's not like real public transit. Maybe there's some shuttle situation. I don't really know. I mean, one of the issues talking about the men's shelter is it should be in a place that they can access services that they use in the downtown area, be it the Olive Tree, residence recovery, any of those things. So moving it out of town, then how does that happen? I mean, we're not going to build public transit to meet that need. It's to meet the needs of the residents, but it's just a matter of cost again for that. And yeah, I mean, something maybe in that realm would be beneficial, I think.
It's been an issue for so long now. Like, I'm sure you've heard about it over and over and over again. We want to thank you, Tracy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for taking some time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I just, I think I'm excited. This is an exciting journey I've gone on. I'm learning a lot, and Lloyd's great, and we have to remember that. There's lots of great things here to celebrate and move it forward. thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, and it's Halloween tomorrow.
It is?
Yeah.
You dressing up?
No, I'm a little too serious of matters right now. We've got another council, we've got 3 more councillors coming tomorrow morning, so I'm going off the top of my head now to try and remember. I should have wrote it down, but I believe Tanner Naday is coming to see us tomorrow. David Lopez is coming to see us tomorrow, and Daryl Dunn will be here. Yeah, those are the 3 that are coming tomorrow. So out of the 14 that are coming, we're going to talk to each and every one of them. We've given them the same questions, and we will continue to do that until we talk to each and every city council member. Again, thanks to our guest today, Tracy King, and thanks for Jim Taylor for coming in, and we want to thank Justin Vance as well. We will talk to you again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.